We're back, everyone. I think this is 2 weeks in a row. Welcome back to The Revolution. I'm Maya May, and I'm here with...
Michael Fanone.
Yeah, I wanted you to be able to introduce yourself. I didn't want to speak for you.
Oh, I appreciate that.
I do my best. I want everyone to feel heard. And right now, I think they want us all full of rage, because I don't know if it's what I'm seeing in the news, my algorithm, or if it's just a total shit show. But shocking gloves that shock people. Mike, did you see this?
I did. I think it's ridiculous. I mean, listen, as you know, I spent 2 decades as a police officer in Washington, D.C., arrested more than 2,500 individuals. A lot of them didn't want to go to jail. A lot of times I had to use compliance techniques, force, if you will, to gain compliance and lock them up. That being said, we have tasers, a taser device you can use at a distance. Anytime a police officer has to come in direct contact with an individual, they are putting themselves in danger, and obviously raising the stakes of injury, not just to the individual that they're interacting with, but also to themselves. I just think from a practical standpoint, it's stupid. The other questions that I have, obviously, it's ICE that's going to be implementing this particular device. I know from, my experience, like I was on the police department when we implemented tasers. And I remember the beginning of the introduction of the taser program and the amount of time that it took. It took more than 5 years to go from introducing these taser devices to our department, which it started off as a pilot program. I think they selected a handful of sergeants to, go and receive training from the manufacturer, bring the device back, develop a departmental policy, run that departmental policy by general counsel. There was a tremendous number of steps that took place from the time that, these things were invented to the time that they were actually deployed on the street by actual DC police officers. And so I'm wondering, like, how long has this been in the works with ICE and CBP? How long have these things even been in existence? Are other departments considering utilizing them? What is their departmental policy going to be about their use? Where do they fit in on the use of force continuum? How much training are they going to be offering their officers who have already had their training cut from 9 months down to, I believe it's 47 or 49 days. I know that they did that specifically to honor Donald Trump, who's the 47th or 49th or both president of the United States, which is inherently
stupid.
Yeah. That's just insane. And listen, don't take my word for it. Just watch these buffoons perform in a town near you. We see countless acts of, excessive force and, other acts of unprofessional conduct and behavior when it comes to interacting with citizens. I think that this is probably the last agency on earth that should be implementing a new device or a new technology to apply force on American citizens.
Yeah, and there are a ton of questions. I'm guessing that it has something to do with the fact that a company that wanted to make money off of cruelty, to profit off of cruelty, they developed this device, and then they're like, hey, let's give them a contract. I wouldn't be surprised if whoever is manufacturing these and selling these is in some way related to the Trump world. But we have all of these questions and absolutely no answers, because when they asked Homan about it, this is what he had to say.
You have something else I'd like to bring your attention to or talk about. DHS plans to spend $20 million on electric shock gloves to aid federal agents. How would that work, and what role would they play?
Well, look, it's another device that, to help someone be compliant where they're not. You just can't go from 0 to 100, right? And first thing you go for is lethal force. So, we have OC spray, we have tasers. So the glove is, you know, the latest thing they're looking at to help in situations. You've seen the videos in the past year and a half, the fights on the street where officers are overwhelmed. This would be a tool they can use to make someone compliant. Now, you know, there's a lot of training involved. There's still some, you know, background, you know, issues that need to be dealt with. So the implementation of these gloves out in the field are going to be a while. I think they serve a better purpose in detention facility, that where detainees get out of control and there's fights in the facility. So we'll see.
Okay, they're talking about humans, first of all, human beings, and they're acting like this new tech is something that is going to be necessary to detain and control humans that they told us were all criminals. These are the worst of the worst, but they're detaining people's babysitters. They're detaining doctors. They're detaining scientists. They're detaining people who simply have the civil offense of overstaying their visa. These aren't hardened criminals. And so they're talking about shocking people. First of all, they shouldn't even be shocking hardened criminals. But they're talking about people who are in overcrowded conditions, in facilities that were not built for humans to be in for any time at all, let alone long term. Sometimes 50, 60, 70 people in a room that is has one bathroom and is maybe meant for, I don't know, 5 people. And then they want to come in with the addition of being able to shock someone violently. And I have no idea what effect this would have on somebody who has heart conditions, because we also know that a lot of people in these facilities aren't even getting the medical care that they need. They're not equipped with medical staff. So rather than saying like, hey, some of this money that we have, we want to improve the conditions of the places where we're detaining them, they're like, no, let's fucking get gloves and shock them. Like, to me, it's so freaking absurd that I don't understand why people aren't now screaming in the streets about this.
Yeah, no, listen, I totally get your visceral reaction to the concept of this. And listen, I've never used these gloves. I've never seen a pair of these gloves. I don't even know specifically how these gloves work. My argument is that if they are in fact a tool that that would better help law enforcement officers control suspects in a humane way, which I think, there's certainly an argument to be made. The idea of shocking an individual is not necessarily a humane way to deal with them, that this is not the agency that should be implementing this before anyone else. ICE and CBP have shown a track record since the beginning of this administration of inhumane, excessive violence, excessive force used against American citizens. I found it laughable when Tom Homan said, you all seen the videos of officers and agents overwhelmed in these fights. The only thing that I've seen is officers and agents overwhelming American citizens and immigrants and beating the shit out of them. Those are the videos that I've seen. I've yet to see a video in which law enforcement officers were overwhelmed and being beaten into submission. In fact, I would venture to say that those videos don't exist, that Tom Homan is doing what Tom Homan does, and he's lying. And he's also, he is validating a culture of violence that has existed in the institution of policing, not the individual officers, although they often become, a byproduct of that culture. But the institution of policing is one that promotes violence. It promotes policing with your ego. And, that I think has never been more readily apparent than, at least to the average American, than in the agency of ICE and CBP.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And everyone, we know this show is about solutions. This is not like our previous show, Protect and Serve, where we talk about just the problem. We talk about solutions on the revolution. And so at the end of this show, we're expecting you to come out with a lot of hope, because our guests tonight are you giggle at hope. Mike, we're going to come out of this show with hope, damn it. There will be hope, because every single time I start to feel like, oh my God, are we going to be able to get out of this? I think about my good friend, Candice Braun, and her friend, Power Malu, who actually I'm going to count him as my friend as well, who are the co-directors of an organization in New York called ROCC. And they work tirelessly, endlessly to ensure that youthful immigrants, in particular in New York, have what they need. If you remember the story of Dylan Contreras, who was the first high school student detained in an ICE facility, they were key in securing his release, and actually even traveled to the facility to pick him up when he was released. That's Dylan with his mom right there, just like a sweet high school kid. And people often forget, like when I hear gloves, shocking gloves, I think about sweet smiling faces like this. And I say, what did somebody who came here for a better life, what did they do to deserve to have somebody put hands on them in that way? So we're going to come out of this with hope, because we're going to learn about their organization, what they do, how they do it, and how you as an audience can help them continue to do more of it. So Power, Candice, come on to the show. Hi, guys.
Hey, guys. Thank you for being here.
Oh, you're on mute.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, well, and because I always say, like, we're doing the yappy yap, but you're doing the worky work. So for you to take time out of that busy schedule to join us and share with us is incredibly important. So real quick, can you just share with us how you went about securing Dylan's release?
So first, I want to just say that the first high school student and the first person that in New York City that was a victim of the targets and attacks at the courthouses. So these are people that were going to their court hearing. They were following the process. They were doing what they were told they needed to do in order to remain compliant. And he was snatched up and sent to various different detention centers around the country before landing in Pennsylvania, where he stood for 9 months. We visited him several times, and we spoke to his lawyers. We tried different tactics, try to figure out how we can reach out to people that were, whether they were in government or community members, that could constantly do protests or rallies or press conferences to keep his name out there, because we felt that this was a prime example of the lies that they spew when they say that they're going after criminals. This is a perfect example. It's a kid that came to the United States, went to high school, was working because he secured a work authorization. Single mom with 2 siblings. And so he was the father figure of those 2 siblings, helping her pay rent so that they don't have to rely on the government assistance in the shelter system. They didn't want handouts, working hard. They go to their court hearing, and ICE practically kidnaps him in front of his mom because his mom attended the hearing with him. And we, right away, we were contacted by his school counselor because they knew of our organization. We're a frontline organization that have been helping people that are coming to New York City for the past 4 years. Since 2022, we've been on the ground. And so constantly in touch with the mom since day one, since this happened, being a sounding board, emotional support, and then visiting Dylan and finding out more about his story and who he was, who he is, made us have to be there for that family. And so what we did was we became advocates. We became people that were nonstop saying his name, telling people about his story, and more people got involved. And so I think it was a combination of our advocacy, the legal support team that he has, and just regular New Yorkers, average New Yorkers that continue to put his name out there that got him released.
Yeah, and I would say that we don't know why he was released. It wasn't like he won bond or was granted bond. He didn't win like a case while he was inside. We'll never really know exactly. We just got a call. Power got a call from ICE saying that he was being released on his own recognizance. So this was nothing that was like, one, we don't know. And he actually still, speaking of the money that you were talking about, Maya, it's kind of like our theme lately. We have a lot of stories we can share, but it's all about just the prison industrial complex and following the money. So he was released on his own recognizance with an ankle monitor. And Geo Group, who runs the facility where he was, also owns the ankle monitor and the system that surveils him. So he's, has to go to their office in the Bronx frequently. They come to his house. He also goes for ICE check-ins. So all of this is just, he's just a pawn in the system.
Yeah.
He was tricked by the government, by the government's attorney and the judge. It was collusion. It was proven collusion in court to vacate his asylum claim because he was seeking a different type of immigration relief for youth, which you can pursue many different types of immigration relief at once, and yeah,
so in because of that, we were going to talk about this later in the show, but since you brought it up, I want to talk about it now. So many of these young kids are having to represent themselves in court. I believe it was on July 31st that any funding ran out for these organizations that are representing youth. Can you talk a little bit about the work that your organization does as far as supporting children, youth, immigrants in New York?
Yes. So our organization does, ROCC stands for Resources, Opportunities, Connections, and Community. And so we are not limited to helping young people, but there is definitely a program that is very close to our hearts that we've worked on since the beginning to help young, mostly asylum seekers who are under 21. Most of the kids we work with are 18 to 20 to help them match with mentors. A lot of these kids are here alone. And I know, 18, 19, 20 might sound like an adult, but as we well know, that age, you're still very much a child and you've made this journey and you're here alone. So we try to help people pair up with mentors. That's a big part of our work. So we are not a legal organization. We have many nonprofit legal organizations and a few firms that partner with us, and they help youth with asylum, with special immigrant juvenile status, with all kinds of, everything. I mean, when TPS was a thing, we helped with that, like with anything immigration legal related. Those children who lost all that funding, I know you probably saw that. I know New York Governor Hochul and Mayor Mamdani came out together and pledged money to help support those kids in court. And then I think I'm sure you also saw how there was a Trump-related organization of a former ICE employee who was given a contract to represent those kids. I mean, that's, so that's, we kind of come up against this all the time, right? TPS is canceled. There's no more, all the people who thought they were coming here legally under Biden's CBP1 program, that's all canceled. So now they're all here illegally, even though they thought they came the right way. Like, it's like every day with this administration, something is happening, and we just fight back. And the way we fight back is by helping people. It's our way of fighting back. It's our way of resisting. So our resource center is open 2 days a week in person, and we help people in person on those 2 days with our partners at different tables. And it's not just legal. We help with shelter stuff. We help with, we have ESL classes that the city helps provide with us. What am I missing? Food, all kinds of different assistance. And I don't know, when we see headlines like that and get depressed, like you were talking about earlier, we can't change the systems overnight, right? So we just help as many people as we can.
Well, and Mike, you worked within these systems before. And for me, when I saw that they were revoking TPS for 300,000 Haitians, I thought, oh, great. Now all of these ICE agents are going to be like, ooh, it's a target rich environment now. They went from having maybe fewer people that they could detain to now being able to, yeah, this story broke my, I mean, I haven't even covered this story like on Instagram or anything like that, because just hearing this man with this ankle monitor breaking down and crying is just, it was just too much for me. But like, Mike, how can, I guess, what's the, from a like former law enforcement perspective, like when something like this happens, when people go from having status to not having status, is this one of the things that maybe might make a officer go, God, so this person wasn't a criminal before, now they're a criminal and I'm supposed to go after them? Like, is that like a cognitive dissonance where we could, I don't know, make headway there and say, hey, if you didn't feel bad about your job now, you're now pursuing somebody who did everything the right way? This in particular, especially with the Haitians who've been here for so long, and we know what the state of things are in Haiti. Is this an opportunity to try to, I guess, pull some people out of that and push them towards another kind of employment?
I mean, listen, it certainly would have had that effect on me had I been, employed in any capacity in which I was dealing with a person's immigration status. I'll be honest with you, I would have never chosen that as a profession. That being said, I mean, I'm not in communication with any ICE officers, former or current, at this point. But I will say this, I mean, if you believe the reporting, and there has been quite a bit of reporting, I think the New York Times did a piece, the Atlantic did a piece in which they interviewed individuals, ICE agents, CBP agents, and they've said that morale has never been lower at any point in time. That oftentimes, individuals avoid these, immigration-related deployments like the plague. But there's also plenty that are signing up for it, which I think also speaks to the caliber of agent, the caliber of officer that's getting involved in these types of raids. I think it's ideologically inspired. These are true believers that are getting involved in these types of operations, and that's problematic because law enforcement is supposed to be impartial. Law enforcement is not supposed to be politically motivated, but clearly when it comes to ICE and CBP, that is the case. This is slightly off topic, but it always takes me back to the Obama administration, in which he, as president, his administration, they deported more than 3 million migrants to this country, but they did so in a way that was not so inhumane, didn't treat human beings, at least not in, to the extent that we've seen, play out on a daily basis in this country under this administration, like animals. And so that in and of itself to me would be troubling as an agent, as an officer, as somebody who's, dedicated my life and risks my life, to preserve people's civil liberties and keep the peace, so to speak. Unfortunately, it seems like the Trump administration brings out the worst in every profession.
Well, it's a marketing thing too, right? Because he's marketed all of the immigrants who are coming now as criminals, all of them.
Yeah, it's crazy to me because that has been debunked so many times over and over again, and by their own statistics. I mean, the last reporting I saw, it was like 79% of the people who have been detained, who have been deported, had no criminal record whatsoever. Their only infraction was an administrative infraction, and many of those were people that they, like you brought up so importantly earlier on, pulled while they were going through the process. So it's not like these people came here illegally and then were hiding out in the shadows of American society. These were people that came here that were trying to go through the immigration process or came here legally and then had their status revoked.
Yep.
All of those things combined, to me, as a, you know, somebody who was in the law enforcement profession, it would make me sick to my stomach.
I know. And I think what people don't think about too is people do say all the time, oh, their people are coming over for a better life. That what the part that's missing from that is the fact that they're coming over, many of them, I don't know the percentage, they're escaping, like, you know, likely death or, you know, an extreme hardship where they're coming from, right? So it's not like they're just coming over to get a better job or a little money. They're escaping war, famine, you know, persecution, all kinds of things, on top of just not being criminals.
What's obvious and should be highlighted is the fact that this is a money grab, and it's way less about following the law or about going after criminals. This administration has blatantly shown us that they're going after anyone and everyone that they feel they can basically target. And they're making money off of the prison system. They're making money off of the calls, the calls that people have to make to their families, the food. They're making money off of the ankle monitors. They're making money off of every single thing that you can imagine. And it's not about them making our country safer. And that's the difference, I think, that when people think about what's going on, they should realize that they're using human beings as a money grab. And that's the part that people need to really highlight. Because, yeah, you know, people are for getting rid of criminals and getting rid of people that may make them feel unsafe. But when you find out the reality of what's going on, then you should speak up, and that's when you should do your best to put a stop to it, because this administration is inhumane. They're using the power that they have as the executive branch and the control that they have over the immigration system to basically fire judges, basically that would be doing the right thing and be making sure that they're impartial and making sure that they see the case for what it is, and replacing those judges with people that are just going to do their bidding. They also is something called the Board of Immigration Appeals that basically is doing the same thing. They're just doing whatever this administration wants them to do. So when you speak about immigration, yes, we know that there need to be some laws changed, and there needs to be an overhaul on what the process of immigration is in this country. But I think the best way that needs to happen is it needs to be removed from the executive branch so that this person can't say, I'm going to get rid of these judges because they're granting too many asylum claims. Like right now, they're not even hearing the claims. They're just predetermining the people. They're basically, you know, erasing them from the system and basically detaining them so that their friends can make money. So there's cases, for example, when we were going to visit Dylan, one of the cases that came about is that the day that we went to visit Dylan, it apparently wasn't his day, so we couldn't see him. They'd go by blocks. And we were in touch with a family, with a mom who we were trying to help her husband get released from detention. And it turns out that he was granted asylum and was still in that system. And so that day we asked, can we go see him? Because he was supposed to be released.
He was supposed to be on the bus like 5 days before.
Yeah, the judge granted his release already. And so we gave the information and they said, yeah, you could go visit him. And we was like, in fact, he's supposed to be released. So we need to speak to whoever's in charge here because the judge ordered his release. And they were like, oh yeah, we were just waiting to see if we get him a ticket or if somebody was gonna come pick him up or whatever. I said, yeah, we're here to pick him up. So we don't want to see him. We're going to go pick him up. And so we ended up being able to get him released from the detention center.
But how long would he have sat there while they earn money?
When you think about these cases, you think about Dylan, you think about this family member, and you think about the thousands of people that don't have someone like myself or Candice or organizations that are out there on the front line doing this work that suffer and sit in these detention centers just being used as a money grab. And it's so sad because we hear about these stories all the time.
Yesterday.
And we're a small organization we're just trying to do what we can. And so that's why we tell people that they can volunteer with us, become mentors, so that's a form of resistance. When we're able to help young people, especially who are here alone, one of the main things that we try to do is pair them with mentors so that they don't feel alone and they can help them navigate the system. We accompany them to their court hearings, to their ICE check-ins. We do our best to be an emotional support system for the people that are here, because it's unfortunate how they're being used as a money grab.
Yeah, yesterday we were helping. There was and by the way, the people that we're talking about, they're not criminals. They're people who were just swept up. So they shouldn't have been there in the first place, right? So it happened the other day, about a month or two ago. There was a kid that we work closely with, and we work closely with his mentor. And he was on his way to work with another person who was brown. They got taken to detention, bopped around. They ended up at Batavia, which is in Buffalo, outside of Buffalo. He got a lawyer. We helped a pro bono attorney, and he was bonded out. I think the hearing, what was it, like 2 days ago in the morning, an 8:30 hearing. The DHS attorney is not even, I don't think, a real attorney, right? To Power's point of these people just getting put in these positions who don't know what they're doing, which was a good thing in this case because he lost. So the kid gets out on bond. We figure out how to raise the money he needed for bond. It was a lot. And again, the government, because keeping him is more valuable to them than actually pursuing justice, right, and taking care of people, they kept rejecting our bond thing. So online, the website didn't work. We went down to court to try to give the money. They said, you can't give the money here unless you put in a claim that it didn't work online. Go back, the website's working. Go back to the website. Then they email us the signature. We can't see the signature. Do it again. Do the whole bond thing again. So this is now 48 hours that this kid who was freed on bond, the government had our collective money and didn't let this kid go until we just badgered them for 2 days. And that's just, it's
And
like,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, that's it. It's just follow the money. That's all it is. This is a kid. He has a baby. He's 21 years old. He has a baby who was born here, a wife. He has a community that cares about him. He's not a flight risk. He did nothing wrong, and he came here seeking asylum. It's insane.
This is a heist. Is basically these people are robbing the American people. All the taxpayers are getting robbed. It's blatant. It's in your face. They're using your money to pay these corporations that are making money off of human beings.
I'm so glad that you're repeating this through line of the power grab, of the money grab, because we're not seeing that in any of the mainstream news outlets where they're talking about how much money Geo Group, Core Civic is making, shuttling people from detention facility to detention facility. And if it were really about law and order, Donald Trump wouldn't have pardoned the January 6th insurrectionists, right? And so they're dismantling law and order and turning it into this corrupt gang, really. I mean, this is like a criminal organization making money and profiting off of pain. And so I'm so glad that that's being repeated over and over again. The other thing I want to touch on, because you did talk about the emotional support, I can't imagine what it must feel like knowing that you were in the process, doing the process the right way, only to be detained for an indefinite amount of time and now have to go in for ICE checks here and there, because there has to be a fear there, a PTSD. And I want people to really understand what that does to someone at the almost cellular level, to have that happen and how that's going to affect these kids. The effect it's going to have on these kids, the kids they hang out with, the kids they go to high school with, how it's going to affect them now going to the future. Can you just walk us through just kind of what that scenario is like for some of the people that you work with?
So we basically try to have ciphers and table conversations where people can share and express what they're going through, including we have a soccer program, a football program for the children, so that they can be able to feel like they're free and they're playing. Because the first person that they look at and they look towards are their parents. And when they see the fear in their face, and they feel that anxiety that the parents carry with them, it basically is transferred to them. And these are the people that they look up to protect them. So there is this feeling of morale that's very low, very afraid, and they come to our space so that we can be able to talk to them and kind of comfort them as much as we can, and they're able to share. So what we try to do is we try to have like different programming where they can be able to express themselves, whether it's writing, doing some type of poetry, drawing, painting. We have food in our space where they can actually eat a hearty meal. Sometimes we try to cater it towards depending on what country they're from, so that they can have some familiarity and be able to be culturally sensitive to their foods, and that kind of like opens them up and allows them to have that space and that time to feel free and be able to just express what they're going through. So that's the one main thing that we try to do, because the trauma that they face, there's a lot of people that have considered suicide. There's a lot of children that are very worried, more worried about their parents' safety, because they bring them to school, and then they don't know if their parents are going to be taken while they're in school. Like all of these things that this administration are terrorizing. They are terrorists. When you think about the things that they are doing, these are human beings. Like if anything, what people can do is strip away the layers and the names associated with human beings and just try to put yourself in their place, coming here for safety. A lot of people that have been persecuted back home, really no one wants to leave where they're from, and they're forced to leave, and they come here to the United States of America, which is supposed to be a safe place for all. It's a place where people have survived, have made it, have thrived, different nationalities, people from all different backgrounds. And this administration is undoing years and years of what this country has worked hard to fight for. And the one particular thing that they're doing is the mental health aspect is deteriorating on human beings, because this is not only affecting the people that are being targeted, but their friends and family members that they have become in the communities that they have lived in for years, or even just recently have come to in contact and made friends with people. This human connection is something that the administration is terrorizing and taking away from us. It's what we're supposed to be made of, is something that is a people that take care of one another, is a community that looks out for one another. And they're doing the divide and conquer tactic and saying those people are evil, those people should be in other countries. And the reality that they're not deporting people in the way that people think that they're deporting them, because they are actually just detaining them. The majority of the people that they have in the system are not criminals. And we have to consistently say that, because the way propaganda works is that they keep feeding people this false information. And it's ridiculous how people buy into it. But I think that the more that we can speak out against what's going on and call it for what it is, children are being terrorized. So these are cold people. They have the right name. It's ICE, because they're cold as ice. They have no emotions. And then if you step up and you call them out on it, they try to terrorize you. Up in uptown Manhattan, this woman was basically with another group of people that were calling them out on their BS. And this ICE agent just blatantly walks up to her with a can of mace and sprays her in her face. And nothing is done about it. Nothing happens. The police came, they asked what's going on. The people try to explain to them what's happening. Simply find out who these people are with masks that are now not only terrorizing our neighbors, they're terrorizing so-called citizens. They are basically telling you that if you're speaking up for these people that they're going after, then you're going to be a target as well. And they're trying to instill this fear in people. And so this particular case that I'm talking about, there's actually a video out. It's now a 13-minute video that you can see where the police officer then finally gets the guts to go up to the ICE agent in the car and say, you know what, let me just get your information just so I can have it. And as he's asking this ICE agent for the information, the dude just drives off. He didn't identify himself. Nobody knows if he was an ICE agent. Nobody knows any of this because they're allowed to walk around with these masks. They're completely covering their identity. They don't even have to say who they are to a police officer. Like, that's blatant disrespect to authorities. So what is really happening in this country is like that no one is really stepping up when you think about it. And this is happening in New York City, like it happened the other day. And this is constantly going on. And so imagine now they're terrorizing just people that are supposed to be citizens. You know, they basically have their gloves off on this.
And I will say we do have to focus a lot on mental health. We are in touch with several hospital systems where we send people for mental health evaluations. There have been people that we work with who have been admitted. Power talked about suicide attempts. We have support groups with therapists, licensed clinical social workers in our space. We have art therapy, just talk therapy. Even ESL, by the way, ends up being therapy, group therapy. So we have to do a lot of that because if you are in the space with us, it's a joyful space. It's a community center. People feel the love and community there. There's also a palpable fear. People are coming to us because they need help going to court or going to their ICE check-ins, or someone they love has been detained or hurt by authority. So it's a lot of fear, and you can feel it.
And so the programs that we're providing, they're basically always free, and we have a lot of volunteers that step up. But one of the main things that we want to do is be able to hire people that can be there full time so that the programs can be sustainable. And it's constantly pivoting for us because this administration is constantly taking away certain things that we've worked hard to help them attain. Even so that if a person crossed the border and received the asylum claim, they're paroled in, and they're accepted and said, okay, you can pursue asylum. When they go to their ICE check-in, what they're doing now is treating that as if it was the first time that they crossed the border. So they
under Trump. So they're
now.
erasing everything from before.
So it's like, no, you never crossed the border. This is the first time that you're crossing the border in the ICE office, and this means that you're breaking the law. So now you have to pay $5,000, and this is each adult, $5,000. This is the process that you have to go through, and we're going to fit you with an ankle monitor, and now you're going to be in the process of being deported.
And by the way, you escaped Guinea because you, the mom, was a subject of female genital mutilation, and your daughter, your family was threatening to do that to your daughter. So that's why you came to America. Good luck.
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for sharing the mental health part of things, the trauma of it all, because I think that's the part that a lot of people, and this is now, this particular wave of ICE detainings and people have, I don't want to say that people have moved on, but I think there's just so much happening that it makes it very difficult for people to stay emotionally engaged with what's happening because, there's already a mental health crisis in our country. And so even people who are doing activism work, people like yourselves, are also prone to burnout. And so there's just layers upon layers of trauma, and everyone needs help. And I generally like to keep my crying for off camera and when I'm sobbing during boxing, but hearing you talk about what is happening with these kids and how it's affecting just their emotional state day to day, I want other people to hear that, and not just hear it here, but like hear it here. I feel like everybody should be crying all the time, basically now, because that's how bad things are. And if we're not crying, it might mean we're either not in touch with what's happening or on a healthy dose of SSRIs. But I'm so grateful for the work that you're doing. So volunteers, where can people send money, decide to volunteer if they're not in the New York area? What can they do?
The best thing is probably to go to Instagram. So it's at ROCC NYC, ROCC NYC. There's a link tree there with a link to our website. You can donate on the website, and you can also just, we engage on Instagram in the DM. So you can, anyone can message us. Anyone who's in New York, or even in the New Jersey, tri-state area, I'd encourage you to reach out about mentorship or about just volunteering in our space. I think the one special thing about our space is that there's no pressure on anyone. So, if you can only come in once a month, once every 2 months, or you want to come in every Wednesday and Thursday, it's completely wide open to what works for you. There's always a baby to be held. There's always someone to be comforted, a meal to be served. It's not, just join us, there's not a lot of pressure as far as the commitment goes.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's it. We're just grateful for everyone's involvement and support.
Just because I know some people at home might be like, oh, I'm not the type to volunteer, or I don't have the time, or, what is the average volunteer like? Or like, what's a typical volunteer? Is it a retiree? Is it a student? Is it?
Thing. It's such an incredible group of people. It's immigrants, it's new immigrants and asylum seekers, it's New Yorkers, longtime New Yorkers, it's people who are here for school, for college. We love the grandma and grandpa contingent, retirees. It's really everyone, every race, every religion. Like, we're not just saying that. It's such an incredible palette of individuals who join us. We're very open. And people have made lifelong, deep friendships through volunteering with us, and have, it's word of mouth, right? Because it's such a nice community, and again, such a great way to resist, that people end up telling their friends, and it's just a great community. There's no right or wrong as far as who volunteers and what you do. We have retired lawyers, retired judges who help us on the legal side, and we have people who were in high school helping with the soccer program and holding babies and stuff. So and making us muffins. We have a kid in middle school who will make muffins and drop them off in my lobby some mornings for us to bring in to serve people. So it's really just a huge range. We have people accompanying people to court, to ICE check-ins, visiting people in detention, helping raise money for bond. I mean, just all kinds of. It's a very, very wide array of interesting, cool people.
It truly is a way to resist, and it is an array of people. So whatever skills you think you may have and you want to contribute them, they're welcome, because we have poets, we have artists that paint with the kids. There's different things that you can do, and don't feel that it's too small. It actually is important, and it's necessary for our ecosystem. Because we now dealing with this horrible administration that is all about them, and it's all about terrorizing people to make money. And the way we can resist is by saying we're going to keep showing up for these people. We're not going to be afraid. We're not going to hide. We're actually going to be out there serving and supporting.
And my mantra has been, I will not burn out. There's just I'm not going to burn out. There's not time. There's not like, I think that some of us who are in this, I'm going to speak for Power and me. I think if we did burn out, that would hurt our mental health. Like, it helps our mental health to be in that space and be able to not just help people on the ground, but also advocate on their behalf and be the person who speaks up when they can't, because they're rightly afraid to do so on their own behalf.
We have to use our privilege straight up. Like, that's what it is. It's, we're all human beings, when you strip away all those layers. So we have to connect with people, and we have to support and be there for them.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I'm grateful. I think I promised everybody that they would be hopeful towards the end of the show. And Mike, are you feeling a little bit more hopeful knowing that people like Candice and Power exist?
Yeah, I mean, that was exactly what I was going to say. I mean, this is, a seemingly hopeless moment in American history. And, like Maya says, she's always looking for the hope in, in these interactions, and you guys are the hope. Your organization is the hope. And so thank you.
I hope so. Thank you. Come see us.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say next time I'm in New York, obviously she'll be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your platform and allowing us to tell the story.
Yeah.
Because we're constantly on the ground doing this work, and we're not too good at promoting. But when people come to our space, they see what we do, they feel what we do, and they're like, wow, and it compels them to get involved. So sharing helps that. So thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome, and hopefully people will share this and elevate, and you'll see more donations, volunteers, and everything coming your way. So thank you guys.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you.
Appreciate right? Like hope. I open up the internet, I get depressed. I look at what my friend Candice is doing, and I go, okay, we've got this. We can do this. And it makes me think of like, go ahead, you're going to say something. Go.
No.
Oh, you're taking a breath.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw over the weekend, there was a row, maybe it was over the weekend or over that a certain podcaster was lamenting about how hard things are for young white men in America, that things are just really bad. And a lot of people came at him like, really? Things are, including our own Stuart Stevens, I think, made an entire show around the fact that no, actually, white men are doing okay. And so when I hear the trauma being inflicted on people who are just trying to live their lives and get by, and being subjected to ankle monitors and just a complete and total surveillance state, and then I'm like, there's this alternate reality where there are a bunch of white guys who are like, I'm the victim, actually.
Yeah, I like things are inherently bad, but they're inherently bad for all of us, because of people like that, because of assholes like that were so self-centered, so selfish, that they voted for and supported and lent their platforms to an egomaniac who is now literally tearing our country apart and selling it off for parts. And yeah, no sympathy. Sorry to the white podcaster kid that can't get laid and thinks life is tough.
I guess the thing is, it's like I laugh about it, but it's also so dangerous to have. And Scott Galloway is the guy that I guess did a whole, or I think he even did an article about it in the New York Times, maybe an opinion piece. It's very dangerous to have white men with power in privileged positions tell young white men that the problem right now is that things are hard for them, as opposed to what you just said, which is that there is a very powerful class of people who have decided to strip the country for parts. It's like the lack of self-awareness is, as you said, so much a part of the problem, which means the solution would be to be aware of oneself, but also aware of what's happening in the world and the dynamics of things, and cause and effect. Like, I feel like we're in this cause and effect crisis where people are having a real difficult time understanding why housing is expensive, for example, right? Or why they can't seem to get a job coming out of college right now. And that it has nothing to do with what the government would like you to think it has to do with.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think everybody knows like my position on podcasts, but specifically on listening to other people. Yeah, well, I mean, like, take what you hear here, and then, but filter it through your real life lived experience. Like, don't take my word for anything you know, again, and don't take this like sad fucking white guys, you know, lamenting about his place in America today. Filter it through your lived experience and ask questions about why things are the way they are. And I don't know, maybe go outside of your media ecosystem and look for substantive facts to support, you know, why things are the way that they are. I think that's part of the problem, and it might be too much heavy lifting for a lot of folks. I think it was Henry Rollins said that we got ourselves into this situation because, I forgot the quote, but it had to do with their mental acuity, or their intellectual acuity is not, you know, to the highest
They're not
level.
working with the full deck, or as my dad would say, their elevator doesn't go to the top floor, or they're not the crunchiest cookie in the cookie jar, or they're one
they're
spoon
just-
short of a.
Yeah, but there's just not a lot of, you know, free thinking, independent thinking, I should say. Not a lot of independent, critical thinking. There's the right word. Critical thinking is not happening today.
That not at all. I have a fun Henry Rollins story though. I was at Trader Joe's when I was in my early 20s, and I opened up the refrigerator door to grab some milk. And as I was putting my milk in my cart, I looked through the glass, and Henry Rollins was on the other side of the glass. Now, if it was any other person and they're waiting to get the milk as well, I would be like, "Oh, here you go," and I would step back and like maybe make like whatever conversation. But because it was Henry Rollins, I just went stunned and stared at him, and then just closed the door and just like walked away. And that is my Henry Rollins story.
I love that guy so much. He's such a good human being. I love the fact that he came from, you know, the DC punk rock scene, which I also grew up in. And I will never, I wish that he's a little bit before my time. He's older than me, but he worked at Baskin Robbins. And if you know Henry Rollins and you know how intense this guy is, just the idea of him working at a Baskin Robbins is
Really funny.
Yeah.
I also feel like he'd be more of a Ben and Jerry's kind of guy, you know.
Although I guess they do have Ben and Jerry's parlors, but
They do.
it wasn't a thing in DC, I guess.
Yeah, he would even have. I feel like he's the kind of guy that they would give a flavor to, at least like a
They should
during like Rock Month or something. I don't know. Let's try to get Henry Rollins on the show. That could be fun.
That would be amazing.
That would be amazing. Yes, or we're gonna visit Henry Rollins. All right. So we were hopeful. We're gonna stay hopeful. I'm taking Candice's mantra of I shall not fatigue. I shall not burn out. Yeah.
Yeah, what does Joan Baez say? Action is the antidote to despair.
Yep.
Do some shit.
Do some shit, y'all. Now you know where to go. We're constantly going to try to put organizations in front of you that you can go do something with so that you do not despair, because let me tell you, idle minds in this world, in this economy, headed into these midterms, you do not want to leave your brain with too much free time to think about stuff. Because wow, the catastrophizing that can happen, the downward spiraling. I don't want anybody on that journey. No, no. So stay strong, stay positive, stay hydrated, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys next time.